TikTok, it's time to rock. We're back. We're back with another midweek lockdown special for everybody who enjoys these midweek shows, and there's been a few of you. So as usual, and as honestly, humbly, we are really, really happy to hear that you guys are enjoying these midweek specials. We really, really dig the cool, kind comments too that you guys have been giving us. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much. And trying to make the best out of a bad situation. I couldn't think of a better way, mate, to sit around, have a coffee, and talk about music. So.
Yeah, mate. Look, I agree with you. It's a good thing. You know, we did a couple last week, and that was good. Didn't do too much preparation. I'm looking forward to this one too. Even though we've done a little bit, we're going to go through and do a few track rankings, but. Really, this album is in what's the word? In recognition of Warren Graham, very good friend of our show, who is going through cancer treatment at the moment. He's asked Brad and I and Simon and whoever comes on the show, if we would ever do this album. And we decided we'd do this album as a midweek special for you, Warren. So if you are going to check this show out later, we what's the word? Dedicate this show to you.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, we miss you, bro. We miss you. We miss you in the comments, and we do wish you well. But looking forward to offering some thoughts and opinions on Slowhand. As usual, it's an interesting album from Clapton. Before we dig into that, though, bro, we've got some cats in the chat. We've got Arvin. Yay. Oh, my gosh, we've got Derek. Clacton. Awesome. Thank you, Derek. Look forward to your contribution, because he certainly has an opinion on Eric as well. Nelson Rodriguez, thank you, brother. Getting to be another regular. And I noticed at the top of the chat, bro, we had Teresa offering some comments, saying that she can't she's going to check the chat out later. So that's really cool. Thank you. And look at that. Everyone gets a big hug. Oh my gosh. Oh, here we go. Oh,
he's trouble. Hey, Simon.
Hey, Simon, how's it going, brother? And we have another. Oh, we have more trouble. Okay. We've got Quinton James. G'day, Quinton. How are you? Good to see you guys. Yeah, we'll put you in timeout, Quinton, so you better behave. Actually, there might be some timeouts on this album, even though we love this album. We are going to offer an honest interpretation and chat about this album. Alan's in the chat. Hey, Alan, nice to see you. Thank you. So, oh my gosh, we've got Mike in here as well. Wow, everyone's flying in. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. We look forward to chatting with you guys in the chat. So before I dig in with my introduction on the album, I'm going to ask Brad if he can tell us what he thinks about the album generally, when he discovered the album, where the album sits as far as Clapton albums goes, and where does it sit as far as an album for guitar players. Is that enough questions? Is that enough for you to think about?
I'm not sure I can retain all that. I've got a short memory.
No. To be fair, Brad's been doing extramural studies, so
Yeah.
his brain's fried, and we're just going to out fry it some more.
Well, thanks, Andrew. I've always loved this album. It's this album. I discovered it after 24 Nights. I went back through, I went backwards basically with a lot of the Clapton records. My first non-Cream, non-24 Nights era or Journeyman era CD from Clapton was 461 Ocean Boulevard, and I think this was the next one, the very next one I purchased. So it wasn't long after I went and started, purchasing all the back catalogue of Clapton that I didn't have. I've always loved this album. It has a soft spot in my heart. It's not, where did you want me to put it in a ranking or something? It positions around that 461 Ocean Boulevard for me, around that sort of position for Clapton. It's not like, for me, like Derek and the Dominoes was an epic album. Even though he didn't want to call it Clapton, we know the backstory behind that. We've already done a special on that one. But for me, this record in particular, there's some real gems in it, and there's also some not so finer moments of Clapton in there. But we'll delve a little bit more into that as we get into each track. And I think Andrew's got a bit of information that's going to allude to, his mindset and state of mind where he was in the recording process. And but there's some absolute crackers on this album. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed listening to it the last couple of days. I've been put it on high rotation for this show. We decided to do it a day or two ago, and I think I've just listened to it since. And I mean, look, there's some great songs on it, some great material on it. Clapton was in a bit of a strange place at this point in his career, and you can hear it a little bit in the songs. You can hear it, but like I said, there's some gems in there as well. How about yourself, Andrew?
What I like about this album is that it's not polished, and one of the great things about you and I and Simon, especially when we do these rankings from that 70s and late 60s period, all of them are just about flawed to degrees. There's mistakes, and we always talk about this vibe that we get from an album. And I love that. I love that especially, the fact that we can talk about, the fact that he's using Blackie, a Stratocaster, and Music Man amps, and we'll go through that later on. We'll put some picks up and have a look at that. And, we know that. But what I like talking about with Brad and Simon is we try and work out, the vibe, the feeling of this album, and then, try and put that into perspective, because this album is a rough diamond. It's a rough diamond, and it's certainly one, Brad, that's grown on me over the years. And I always like to mention and say this to you guys, and I don't mean this like a blueprint. It's not a blueprint perspective that I'm using, but this album for me, for a long time, was a serious album. It was, I remember when I first came across it. I don't know how. It must have been through the cover, because I always loved the cover, and we'll put that up. So the cover is awesome. But I remember dropping it. It must have been one of my uncle's records, and listening to it, and I just didn't get it. I did not get it. And it was years later, like you, when I became sincerely a Clapton nut, where I went back and started recognizing and appreciating a lot of the songs in here. We all knew one song, though, didn't we? Wonderful Tonight. I recognized that song because they were still playing that song on the radio, and they still do, don't they? It's still on high rotation for for classic rock albums, especially here in New Zealand. But it's an album that I look back fondly. It's one of his best 70s albums. It's certainly, as Brad said, it's not up there with Layla. You know, if Clapton had just stopped making records up to Layla, well, that would have been it. But yeah, I agree with you. We're going to go through some of the tracks here and talk about it. But yeah, for me, it's one of the best 70s albums. Paved the way for that guitar sound for the 60s too. Sorry, for the get the eras right, for the 80s, because when I was listening to this over the last couple of days, I just kept on getting a lot of Money and Cigarettes and Money and Cigarettes. That's the album. Yeah, I started thinking about that album for some strange reason.
Yeah, I can see the similarities there in especially tonality wise, maybe, because yeah, I'm just trying to remember. I'm just racking my brain now because I haven't listened to that record for a long time either, Andrew. So that was done that was done early 80s, wasn't it? Like in
83.
83, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it had the single "Rock and Roll Heart," and you know, like that, a thin Stratocaster sound that wasn't high driven, or high gained.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this album, Slowhand, I'm just looking at my notes here, released in September '77. Another interesting period for music. That singer-songwriter era was coming into full force, wasn't it? And I know that Simon would look at that fondly, whether or not this is this isn't Clapton's contribution, because a lot of the songs on this album are covers, so we can talk about that. What's really interesting about this album is it was recorded at Olympic Studios in May. And it was the first time Eric had been in a British studio since the aborted second Derek and the Dominoes album. So that was interesting. And we like talking about these kind of things on the show. The sessions were produced again by Glyn Johns, one of Britain's most experienced producers. He'd worked with the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Who, and the Eagles, and we've spoken about him many times before. And one day we'll do a producer's show and probably spend an hour talking about him, maybe. And one of the key things in the research that I found, and we know this though, but it's really important to go back and just dig a little bit. Johns didn't take too kindly at all to the drunken antics and the arguments that ensued in the recording sessions. Yeah. Wasn't happy about that at all.
Yes, well, from my understanding, he tried to pull them all into line. You know, from my understanding, he tried to pull them all into line, and I think he got like the best out of Clapton he was going to get out of him at that period in Clapton's career as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. He certainly did, and their relationship didn't suffer for it. But again, I think Eric Clapton also had an opportunity to be surrounded by, some awfully good people in that band. And we can talk about that if you want. Have you got that information there handy? Who was in the band?
Yeah. Well, basically there was obviously Clapton. George Terry was the other guitar player. Dick Sims was on keyboards. Carl Rattle was on bass guitar. We know Carl. Jamie Aldiker on drums and percussion. Mel Collins, a very popular saxophone player from that era, played on a lot of amazing stuff. Yvonne Ehrlichman on harmonies and backing vocals, and Marcy Levy also sung BVs and duet on The Call, which is one of the songs on the album that we're just about to dive into. So, I mean, he's got a few familiar faces there.
Yeah, and that's a good support for him. And I've got one quote here that I just want to shout out there, Brad, for everybody to just consider. And we were talking about this in the green room beforehand. So this is a quote from Eric. Slowhand for me is very nervously sung, especially after No Reason to Cry. Maybe it was because of the lack of material we had when we went in to cut it, or it was the difference in surroundings. So, the fact that Eric recognized later on, that there was some nervousness there. But don't we like that? Don't we like that when we can go back and look at the back catalogue and see the vulnerability and the unpolishedness that these people have? Don't we love that?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I think I've mentioned in previous shows, I do believe Clapton is, like, especially around that Journeyman era when he went back to more the Marshalls and the Soldanos and cranked amps and everything, he was a lot stronger and more efficient singer at that point in his career than back here. Obviously, he evolved, but from here it was a very early, he's still early days for him as a vocalist in the sense of his career. So he became an amazing blues singer, bluesman. That 24 Nights and beyond that, he was singing amazingly. From the Cradle album, his voice on that is phenomenal. Like, in comparison to this, what I'm saying, you can see he's developed through the years and improved on his vocals. I did hear a lot of nervousness in his vocal delivery in this album when I was listening to it. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I just want to make a quick little shout out. See James's comment there. Eric recreated his career in '87 with the August album. He's hit the nail on the head there, because everything up until August was, could be contained. And we just mentioned that before, didn't we? When we tried, when I made the comparison between this album and Money and Cigarettes. But you can't compare August to this album.
No.
Or any album after.
No, I mean, like, as a point in time for him, I think they obviously needed to do a record, and like you said, he was not quite ready to record. I don't know whether it was because of the lack of material. Obviously, he's just gone in and done the best vocal he could at the time, but I mean, there's still some strong vocals on it, don't get me wrong, but you can hear the gruffness, you can hear a lot of raw takes there, and they're probably going, oh, that's the best we can get out of Eric at the moment, so just leave it and move on, So I kind of feel that vibe and energy through the whole record, to be honest with you. Oh, that's the best we're going to get out of Eric, so let's just, move on, next sort of thing. Do you know how long it took them to record the record, Andrew? I couldn't find any information on that. 1 month.
1 month.
Okay.
1 month. 1 month. Before we get into some more deep dive, and I just want to put this out there, bro. So, like, I don't have There's One in Every Crowd on CD in my vehicle. I don't have Backless on CD in my vehicle. Hold on. I've got Just One Night in there. I've got another ticket. I have got money. Okay. So yeah. I don't have No Reason to Cry, because that's not a very good album in my opinion. And There's One in Every Crowd, but I've got this, and that's on rotation.
Yeah. Generally, when I'm in my car and I want to listen to Clapton, it's usually 461 Ocean Boulevard comes on. I chuck that on. It's got great driving music to me. Layla and other assorted love songs. And this one comes on occasionally as well. So But I mean, I haven't been doing a lot of driving lately, so I haven't been. But most of my listening's in the house here. But yeah, I'm glad we decided to do this album. As obviously a dedication to Warren, because it made me listen to it again. It's a great album, and it's got its place in Clapton's history. There's some really there's some gold moments in this record. There's some really good moments.
Yeah. So how about this then? How about we go through side one and just do a bit of a commentary, and then we'll flick up some photos before we go into side two.
Yep. Talk about his gear and things like that.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah. And I just found an interesting. Just bear with me, bro. Just bear with me. I just want to get this ready. I found an interesting fact about one of the songs that I didn't know. Hold on. I found it. Okay, hold on. I'll put this book away. Hold on.
That's okay. Just remember, guys, we're doing this show off the cuff. We did it. We're doing it last minute. There's not a ton of planning for this one. Just a midweek one. We just decided to do it. Just over 24 hours ago, Andrew, was it?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. We got Hugh in the house. G'day, Hugh. Thank you for joining us again. Okay, so cocaine. So clearly cocaine. JJ Cale influenced Clapton on so many records, didn't he? His first album's got After Midnight, but what Clapton did with cocaine is he's added a little bit of that rhythmic bite to the song. He's made the song his own to a point where it becomes probably one of the most important encore songs that Clapton has done since the release of this album. And he plays obviously Blackie. We know that's a Stratocaster on this song. So I didn't know JJ Cale's version of this song, guys. This song was on the radio when I was a young guy growing up. I only knew Clapton's version for years. So again, we like talking about this and mentioning this. Clapton is a gateway, not only for the blues guys, but for JJ Cale. In fact, he probably saved JJ Cale's career by recording a couple of his songs. I'm going to give this a rank. I'm going to give this is a 10 out of 10. I love the song, the way that it opens up. It's just a classic Stratocaster sound that Jimi Hendrix isn't doing, or Stevie Ray Vaughan isn't doing. This is Eric Clapton opening up a number with a Stratocaster. 10 out of 10, bro.
Yeah. I'm glad you gave it a high ranking, because I did too. For me, it's a great way to start the album, and the song starts so powerfully. It's just drums and bass sound phenomenal, solid as a rock. I love that nice little trill and the lead guitar lines at the start of the song. The rhythm guitar playing is fantastic. There's lots of funky little rhythms happening, and it's a bitey sort of tone as well. It's got a bit of aggression in there, which is cool. I can hear a Leslie speaker effect, which is beautiful. His vocal is swaggering and almost spoken at times, but it's like perfect for the song. I'm going to sort of mirror what you said, Andrew. I'd never really heard the JJ Cale version of this until later. So I was never really heavily involved in JJ Cale. I was just a Clapton head. So, Clapton opened up the doors to that, discovering JJ Cale. But I still reckon this is the best version of Cocaine I've heard. And you can hear some double track vocals going on. The solo is fantastic. I mean, I always say this about Clapton. There's lots of space between his licks and notes. He phrases and he holds little sections for breathing. I really admire that, because that's a really unique art within itself. I mean, a lot of players will just keep playing through sections where he will hold and leave a bit of space for air, just like he's saying a statement, and then going da-da-da, you know, like that's kind of how he plays. It's phenomenal. The solo, there's also some weaving between like a fantastic second tracked lead guitar and I mean, the fantastic playing all around. The solo is great. I love the Leslie speaker effect on the guitars. I mean, I'm a big, you know, univibe sort of sound dude, and I think the univibe stems from that rotating speaker sound, and that's what the Leslie is. So for me, I had to give it a 10 out of 10, and it was just a cracking way to start the record, in my opinion. Just fantastic.
Yeah. And you know, this, you know, like Brad said, you know, the Leslie sound that's going through one channel, and you know, a slight hint of overdrive there as well too. You know, oh yeah, it's a brilliant song.
Yeah.
I suppose this gets us to probably this song's been played at more weddings around the world, I suppose, than I don't know. I don't know. What other songs do you sing at weddings?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Look, wonderful tonight. You know, clearly Clapton's best known romantic ballad, and you know, the story is we're all aware of it, but it's probably worth talking about. You know, he's noodling around on an acoustic guitar, coming up with the riff while Patty's upstairs, you know, going through the regime of changing 5 different outfits and putting makeup on. So, you know, 20 minutes took 2 hours or something like that. And apparently had the whole song completed. Then went off and came back and recorded the song. I've got a couple of quotes here. So Clapton says, "I think that's the best track because the song is nice. It's written about my sweetheart, and whether or not it was recorded well, because apparently he was getting a bit of grief about the way the album was recorded by some people in the industry. Whether or not it was recorded well or we played it well doesn't make any difference because the song is still nice." And I love that quote because basically that's Eric Clapton being very polite, saying, I don't care what the critics say. I don't care. I like the song. I wrote the song. It's probably one of his best loved songs. And, you know, he's happy with that. Look, it's a far cry from the blues, isn't it? This isn't a blues song. So I think we got to remember that too, you know, because we talk about Clapton being this blues guitarist, this, you know, the psychedelic rock guitarist and all that, but he can write a beautiful, lovely ballad.
Yeah.
And, you know, the muse, you know, what's her name? Patty. Something was written about her. Layla. And
wonderful.
This song. 3 songs.
Probably other ones that we're unaware of were inspired by her as well.
Yeah, I look. The riff is it's a trademark riff, isn't it? You hear that, you know it's Clapton. It's just it's like Layla. It's one of those riffs that are carved in the back of our minds. Okay. Now this is where we get. What's the word? This is where we get, I suppose, interesting. and my, I never liked the song for years. I didn't appreciate the song for years. And I sometimes skip the song when I listen to this album. I do skip it. You know, it is a song that I skip, but in the context of the album, it's brilliant. It's a great second song. I love some of the live versions. In fact, there's a lot of live versions out there, which give depth for me, especially around that 24 Nights era, when he was recording and playing that song regularly. Look, it's an 8 out of 10 for me. It's an 8 out of 10 for me. I appreciate it because it is something that's so different from Eric Clapton at an interesting period in his life. But I'm still going to stay. I'm going to stick with my 8.
That's fair. That's fair. For me, Andrew, like the first 2 tracks on this record, Clapton would get almost booed off stage if he didn't play either one of these or both at a gig, basically. It's almost everyone would expect him to play Cocaine, and everyone almost expects him to play Wonderful Tonight at every show he ever does. So for me, this song, I'm ranking it obviously based around the album. I mean, it means a lot to me as well. I do believe I read somewhere once, it must have been in a guitar magazine or something, that he wrote this song obviously waiting for Paddy to get ready, and he was very frustrated while he was writing the song. So he said it wasn't necessarily written as a love song. He was trying to trying to kill those vibes by writing a song like It's Late in the Evening. He's writing these words to try and kill time, but he was very frustrated at the time when he was writing it. So because he was waiting for it to get ready. For me, it's a great song. I just love how the song comes in. It starts, it's like already started when the song kicks in. The guitar sounds like it's weeping to me. It's got that weepy sort of feel to it in his lead guitar playing. The drums and bass sound fantastic, just really tight and solid, and it's a credit to how the recording processes that they went through to get the tones. Like I'm going to repeat myself a lot here. The drums on this record sound fantastic. They really do, and the bass does as well. The BVs are stellar. The guitar playing is great. Mellow, arpeggiated chords, moving bass lines are wonderful. The vocals sound heartfelt, very mellow in their delivery, and the lead playing all over the song is just all class for me. Look, I have to give this song a 10 out of 10. I can't not. I've always loved the song, and I think it's one of the strong songs on the album, and it deserves that ranking. Out of Clapton's songs, not moving forward, whether they were covers or his own songs, maybe not the highest ranked one for me, but I'd still have to give it a 10 out of 10. It's a beautiful song, and it's a heartfelt song. Definitely could be played at a wedding.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, I've been to weddings where it has been played, and I've had a couple of tears in my eye, and they haven't been my weddings either. So
We'll talk about that offline, Andrew.
Yeah. Lay Down Sally. What's really, really interesting about this song is it's written by Clapton, George Terry, and Marcy, the backup, Marcy Levy, one of his vocalists. You're not allowed to say backup singers anymore.
All right, okay. we offend people, do we?
Well, yes, we do. Yes, we do. No, we don't.
I thought we offend people for never skipping.
What I really love about this song, again, and it's one that's grown on me over the years too, because I remember being 14 or 15 listening to this thinking, what is this country song? What's going on here? And then, later on appreciating it. And then it goes on to top the country charts in America, which is well-deserved. But what I really like about this song is that it's got that J.J. Cale chug. Yeah. Without being a J.J. Cale song. The first song on the track, on the album, we've got clearly a J.J. Cale song. But again, this is Clapton and, the rest of his band obviously been inspired by Cale. And then I went on a little bit later on and did some research, bro, and you probably came across this quote too, where J.J. Cale is a songwriter's musician. He's inspired a couple of generations of other musicians and songwriters. And one of the guys made a comment in the chat too. Road to Escon, now I'm going to probably pronounce it badly because of my Spanish. Escondo. Road to. Anyway, it's the one that he did in the early 2000s with JJ Cale. So check that album out.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So when I hear this song now, I just automatically think of JJ Cale, because that's the roots there for me. I love it. Love the live versions. Clapton does some ripping during that 70s, some ripping versions of it live. I've never tried playing this song live, and I'll tell you why myself, because it's not an easy song to play. It's not an easy song. So I'd be interested to see if Brad's played it or tried playing it, and if anyone else in the chat has, because it's got a different, you're doing something different with the right hand. Mate, this is a 10 out of 10. I love this song. It's a great song. It sets a mood for the album for me concretely.
Totally understand your ranking there, and I have to say, to back up what you're saying, the rhythm part, there's two guitars playing what we're hearing on this. It's very hard to play with one guitar the same way. You've either got to play that strong rhythm section, or you've got to do the floating one over the top. So it is a difficult rhythm to play. The shuffle feel like that, it's a shuffly feel on the drums that's very country-like. The riff is bluesy country. It's like in that category, the crossover between blues and country. I will mention this. The last song and this song were both, Eric Clapton original songs, where he's known for doing a lot of cover songs. So Wonderful Tonight, and this one obviously he wrote with George Terry and Marcy Levy. But it's, what I'm saying is, you would associate this song with a JJ Cale song. So it was just a heavy influence there. He obviously did Cocaine, which is the first track, and then this song, third song in, he's writing a song very JJ Cale vibes to me. It is a very unique song. Cool little guitar intro I put, and it's got a country shuffle on the drums. Bass is laying down a solid country vibe as well. It's doing that doom 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 doom, like that very classic country sort of licks. Vocally, he kind of cruises through this one. He pushes a little bit in the choruses, but it's supported by the BVs, or the vocalists now. We're not, let's say, backing vocalists. And it's beautifully done. There's some fantastic licks and playing on the song, obviously on the guitar there. That two position and the middle pickup is all over this song, and it's all over the album, actually. I love the laid-back solo. This song makes you want to get up and boot scoot or cut the rug or something. It's one of those sort of songs. And, I've been part of, jams where you get up and you play along and the band's playing this song, and guarantee it actually gets everyone in the venue up dancing. But in context of the record, I gave it a 10 out of 10 as well. Its first three tracks on this are just never a skiff. They're definite, just play all the way through.
Awesome. And I just want to reiterate a point here that Derek has made, and I think it's worth talking about. The first three songs feel like it's a greatest hits album. He's hit the nail on the head. That's it, because that's exactly, because all the songs are famous. The three songs that we've discussed were just all over radio here in New Zealand, and I gather in Australia, the UK, and North America too. So when I was listening to this, I did think about that point. I thought, jeepers, this is like,
Well, I think these songs are on the cream of Eric Clapton, if I remember right. So that's a really good observation, and I guess that backs up my ranking so far.
and on timepieces as well, and a couple
Yep.
of other greatest hits albums. But having said that, though, we get to a couple of other interesting songs. So this is okay. So the next number is Next Time You See Her. So I've just in the course of my research, Clapton was inspired by Cale and also Don Williams. And he talks about Don Williams in his biography. It's like a rite of passage that some of these rock and rollers have to go through. They discover blues, and then they develop into rock and rollers, and then they've got to reach out and pick the flower of authentic country music, which isn't a bad thing because the Stones did it. The Stones did it well. Clapton's doing this well. Clapton's doing it well, but I'm just going to say this, that this Clapton Going Country, it's a simple song, and it's got a lightweight solo, and I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10, and sometimes a skip. In the context of the album, though, it's perfect, but not one of the best Clapton songs. Brad.
Yeah, well, I back you up there. So I'm not going to send you to timeout. For this song, for me, I love the intro. The feel of the drums is fantastic. The bass fits right in between the accents and plays really tight with the drums. The guitar playing in the intro is really cool. Vocally is croaky and surprisingly fits perfectly with the vibe of the song, but it's not greatest delivery in my opinion. Choruses could have used some backing vocals, maybe, in my opinion, like from a recording artist producer's point of view. I think I would have got some BVs on those choruses myself.
Good point.
Just widen them out a little bit, and not overpowering. Nothing overpowering, just to fill it out a little bit more. The piano and organ had some really cool vibes. The solo is simple. It doesn't need much more than what it is, though. It's perfect for the song. And I'm going to mirror a little bit what you said with the country vibe there, Andrew, and that the Stones did it so well. And in my notes a bit later, I'm going to mention something in one of the other songs about the similarities between, the vibes with the Rolling Stones that I was hearing in a Clapton song. So a bit later on. But so I gave this a 6 out of 10 as well. So it's amazing we ranked this exactly identically.
Awesome. Before we
no
timeouts on the midweek shows. We'll save those for the Sundays.
I probably occasionally skip that track, so that was my
that's cool. Before we do the last song on this side, I just want to remind everybody of a couple of things. So we are streaming, obviously, on our YouTube group, but we're also streaming on our Facebook page there. And we need to update that, Father, because we're getting close to 10,000 members on the All About the Blues Facebook group. So check that out. And we're also streaming here on All Things Eric Clapton, and we need to update that too because we're about 2.5K members on there. So it's always good to share the social media links. And if you guys haven't already done this, if you can check that out, there he is there. Check Brad out, and you'll find links on his channel to me, to Simon, to Kurt. It's a good opportunity for you to be nosy on Brad's account, so that's how you're going to find us. You get in there and you be a little bit nosy and have a dig around and see what he's been up to on his Instagram account. Oh my gosh. Okay, so here we go. So we're on the last song of the side one. We're All the Way. Another cover by Williams. It's a faithful cover that suits Eric's voice well, in my opinion. If you thought the other song was country, This certainly has country all over it, doesn't it? It's yeah. It's an interesting song. I'm not going to say much. I'm going to leave. I'm going to save my comments until after Brad's discussion.
Oh, come on, man. That's not
I
fair.
will, I will
Alright.
give I will give you my rankings though for this song. Okay, it's a 6. It's a 6 out of 10.
Mhm.
It's a 6 out of 10, and it's sometimes a skip. If I'm playing a CD or if I'm using Spotify. But when I'm sitting down listening to an album, and I think Simon likes to mention this too, when we listen to albums, we don't skip the albums, when we play them, So, when we drop the vinyl, so it's sometimes a skip.
Mm.
6 out of 10, bro. It's an interesting song.
Yeah, look, it's mellow vibes. It's great, dreamy guitar tone. There's a bit of a Leslie Speaker effect there, I think. The vocal delivery is very mellow. Glad they added some backing vocal parts in it to add a bit more color. It's a short little song. Feels like a bit of a campfire sing-along song to me. I'm not sure whether they added this to fill up side one for time, maybe. It just feels like that's what was added for. It doesn't really feel like it fits there. I'm not sure how you feel about that, Andrew, but I'm struggling to give this one a 6 out of 10, but I will give it a 6 out of 10. It's a possible skip like the last one, but I think that's probably for me one of the weaker ones on the record.
Yeah. Look, and bro, I appreciate your honesty, and we are being honest. We are Clapton nuts here. We are talking from a fan base perspective, and we do appreciate everybody in the chat because they are all Clapton fans too. I'm reading the comments here from Derek and from Simon and from Hugh, and we really appreciate that. But not everything can be 10. Not everything can be Brad scores. And as much as we dedicate this album to Warren, hopefully the sixes and the sometimes skips we can make up for in the context of the album and the vibe that the album. It's definitely an album that you have to listen to, and it's one that any serious Clapton nut has to negotiate. And I mean that sincerely. You got to negotiate it. And I think if we're all honest in the chat, we all have done that too over the years, over the course of our listening journeys with this album. We've had to renegotiate it. Unless like Simon, it's probably every score on the album's a Brad score. so Simon's probably, what are you saying? It's 20 out of 10, Brad, because he. We'll get that. We'll get that on Sunday. We'll get told off on Sunday. What are you saying? 6 out of.
Well, yeah. We're not, like Andrew said though. We're not trying to upset anyone. We're just being, we're two of the biggest Clapton nuts that I can think of sitting here talking about Clapton. We're not giving him a hard time. It's just, we know that there's, in the context of the record, it's like maybe, it was a time filler or something. Maybe they just did it to, I don't know.
I agree. That's exactly what they've done with the album because, I agree. So we've got up.
Yeah, because just sorry to cut you off, Andrew. The context of that LP, for example, vinyl, there's only so much time that they would have on each side, and if they were short one, they would find something short, like a short song, to fill that side up, and that's how it kind of feels to me.
Yeah, and let's be fair, because we've picked a lot of songs over the course of running the show, where we've been fortunate where a hell of a lot of the albums we've discussed have been masterpieces, and every song has been just fantastic. And then we get an album from a master, but there's only 3 or 4 songs on there which are masterpieces, and the rest are okay. So that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
So that gets us to side 2. So we've got up. You're going to go and get that, like that ciggy. Put it on your headstock. The core. Okay, so I'm probably going to steal a lot of. I'm convinced actually that I'm going to steal a lot of Brad's mojo here. We're at the best song on the album, in my opinion. It's this song is the Brad's score. This is the 20 out of 10. This is the song that I've been waiting for to hear and go, holy cow. I just love this song. It's a great recurrent riff, isn't it? It's beautiful. Marcy's vocals are excellent. Eric's solos, he's playing like a demon, a man possessed. Mel Collins on the sax, which is a pleasant surprise to the ear, and how that's intertwined along with the notes. And clearly, if Brad was going on about the bass and the drums on side 1, oh man, the bass and drums on this number. I look, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to pass it on to Brad, but I'm going to say this is a 20 out of 10. This is the Brad score. This is the reason why you've bought this album.
Oh yeah, it's a cracker of a song, and I put here, great way to start side 2, like just a great way to start the middle of the album, onwards. Great intro. Once the drums come in, it just takes off. It's fantastic. I love all the vocals in it. Great singing. The band's cooking. Bass and drums are just locked in. The guitars are wide and spread beautifully in the mix. It's a treat to the ears. It's beautifully done. The saxophone solo is great, like you alluded to. The guitar solo is lifted by a Leslie speaker effect, and it, my goodness, that poor amp sounds cranked. It just sounds like it's on the verge of frying some tubes to me. It's cranking, and there's some fantastic jamming going on in the song. This is one where I believe when they were looking at recording, they were trying to keep the songs within context. I think they unleashed a little bit in this one, and it definitely shows. And the musicianship, the support base that Clapton had from the band was evident on this one. They were just letting go on this one, and I think when Clapton, from my perspective, when the support base, being his band, are exceptional, he raises the bar again. Like, he pushes himself. If it was ordinary, he wouldn't push himself. He would just stay within where he, would be comfortable. And that's really evident in this track. And I gave it a 20 out of 10 as well, Andrew. So we're on par there. Fantastic.
Look, I agree with you. And I think the point that you raised about him being influenced and fortunate enough to have some type musicians around and influence and give him that confidence and also the vibe to do this song. We like talking about that too, don't we? We like to mention when we go through and rate songs, we like to pick out or identify a song that clearly has a band touch over a song compared to other songs on the album. But you're right, man. This song has salt and pepper from everyone else, shaken on that on the potato, and Clapton just comes along and he's just adding a dollop of butter in there as well, So it's just it's an infectious, and it's a mandatory song for a Clapton nut. For any aspiring Clapton fan, you got to check out that song.
And it is a song that he co-wrote, Marcy Levy too. So that I really like, inspired by Clapton when he shines on his own songs. It's fantastic.
Cool. I've got some pics here that we'll throw up and we'll just have a bit of a chat about. So just hold on, guys. So that's I'll get rid of that comment so we can see the pics. Bear with me, everybody. Okay. And get rid of Brad. Where is Brad? There he is there. Okay, so obviously this here is the marketing photo that Music Man took at the time with Clapton standing behind these Music Man HD 130 amps, and we can talk a little bit about those. So obviously, Leo Fender, when he split from Fender after living out that 5-year period of isolation, was involved in setting up this company, and they modeled this out, these amps, from my research, bro, on Fenders, which is no surprise. So there's Clapton there.
That's a good name for an amp company too, Marshall Man.
Sorry. I've got work brain, Marshall Man.
I think maybe we can go into a partnership there, Andrew, and create a cross.
No, they'll still do us. They'll do us, mate, because they'll be so hot. They'd want a piece of the pie.
Well, they can fork out the big dollars and they can have a piece.
Yeah. So that's one of the photos that they released for him, because he was licensed from 75 to about 83, an endorsed artist for Music Man. So yeah, pretty interesting.
Yeah.
There's another one there. So that's Carl Radle playing his Music Man bass. Obviously Clapton there, bro, playing Blackie. And that amp.
Yeah.
So apparently, from what I've read, he played loud. He was loud back then.
Right. So on his stage volume was loud, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
But what he liked about these Music Man amps is they had a double master volume, so it meant that he could have them at a low volume but still get that breath that an amp gives you that you need.
Yep.
So we got to remember that, because just about every amp now on the market comes with a master volume, but back in the mid 70s, they weren't that common. So I've just thrown in a pic here of that's the inside sleeve of the album, which was always interesting.
Yep.
And again, there's a pic there of Clapton with those Music Man amps.
Mm.
This is an interesting one. I found this one today. So this is a combo that he had, that he used to walk around with or carry around in the back of his car. This is one that he played at a gig with Denny Lane. They went somewhere, and this was an amp that he had apparently.
Was it is that a double speaker? Is it like 2 10s or 2 12s?
2 12s.
Right. Okay. I'm just trying to get my my head around the size of the amp, because it looks tiny, but there's not much housing around the speaker, is there?
No. And again, a poster for the album. That this is all before Instagram, folks. This is where this is when music magazines and posters and record shops were everything.
That's a cool pic.
Yeah, it's another pic of Clapton there. Again, behind that wall of sound.
And it's a trademark, everyone, if you're not familiar with it. Clapton used to always put his cigarette in the string up behind the nut. Used to just put his cigarette there. That was a real Clapton trademark.
Cut it a little bit longer.
Mm.
And that's a photo. I've got a guitar magazine. This came out. So this is when he auctioned about 10 years ago.
Yep.
A lot of these Music Man amps that he had. So for Crossroads as well. So, and apparently these amps went for ridiculous prices too.
Mm. Well, they're pretty rare, aren't they? They're not. They weren't. They're not in production anymore, are they, Andrew?
No. And they're worth, like a lot of things, bro, gold.
Mm.
So here's a photo of Clapton with George Terry.
Yeah. He was obviously a very good guitar player in his own right.
If you guys haven't checked it out, I'll put a link to it. There's the Old Grey Whistle test, and there's also another gig, a New Year's gig that's on YouTube that they play live, and you've got some hot shots there of George playing. Man, he's what's the word? Underrated.
Yeah, he's cooking. Yeah.
And that's his guitar that he plays. So that's a Music Man Stingray. So this is George Terry's guitar. So obviously they were being endorsed by Music Men back then. So check that out, that gig, if you guys haven't seen it. And he cranks that guitar. Unusual looking.
Definitely going to go back and watch that.
I think this is a still from it. There's a still there.
Yep.
And just hold on, mate. I've got a couple more there to flick through for you. So, and it's very hard to get photos of Carl Rattle, but there's Carl there with his Stingray bass too.
Mm-hmm.
We can't underestimate his contribution to Clapton's bands. And there's one there of the recording studio.
Yep.
So down here you can see the 2x12. That's a 2x12 cab with the head on there.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one there of the amps and the guitars around that same time. And the last one, bro, is that's that head. That's that HD 130 head.
Wow.
So that was a 2-channel. So this channel over here, where the Music Man logo is, so that just had just bass and treble and volume. But over here on the second channel, you had a middle as well.
Yep.
And obviously the tremolo effect and the intensity. Yeah, and a bright switch.
It's interesting because I did hear a bit of a tremolo effect on one of the songs. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
So they obviously used the tremolo off that head. There you go. So I'm not very familiar with these Music Man amps, which is great that we're touching on them. So were they 100 watts?
130 watts.
130 watt. Okay. There you go.
So, and they had a solid state preamp. But what's really interesting about those amps is, they were the epitome from apparently during the mid-70s. But when rock and roll changed and Marshall, started dominating, and you had classic rock coming along, and you started, you wanted those crunchier sounds.
Yeah.
That sort of led to Music Man amps falling out of fashion.
Yes, well, Marshall were popular probably still through that era as well, But I'd say Marshall was still relevant all the way through the 70s, no doubt.
Yeah, that's correct, Derek. Yeah, he's been around for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean that in itself, those pictures highlight a time frame and a time period for Clapton there. So you can see that I don't think he was looking very healthy in that era. Andrew, do you? I mean, he in the 90s he looked healthier than there.
What's really interesting about, us being Clapton nuts, you go and listen to some of the bootlegs, and there's a lot of them on YouTube now. And you can just hear, unfortunately, a very nasty Eric Clapton, just swearing and carrying on, and he's calling Jamie, the C word, and he's it's just, yeah. And it's like, yeah, it's interesting,
Yeah.
It's just this, this guy that's half pissed, just
yeah. Well, I'm glad that we got to experience, Clapton on the other side of that as well. But he's still a gruff sort of bloke. Apparently, he's a little bit short fused and everything, but he's a lot happier these days, which is good to hear, healthier. So.
Oh, look, yeah, and it's like Eddie Van Halen. We talk about that too. It's these what is it, peaks and troughs that people go through, and we do that as individuals ourselves. We have high points, we have low points. And one of the great things about Eric Clapton is he recognised when he went through treatment that he had to make amends for the way that he treated people, and did it. And still does it. So,
yeah. Well, that's him giving back to his, Crossroads Rehab Center as well.
Big time. Because
he has and I mean, we could talk about hours and hours and hours and hours about all that stuff, but at least he, he's taken it upon himself to give back. His success has been based around obviously his own music, but playing a lot of other people's music as well. So we're grateful that, and Clapton, when you're watching this, thank you for giving back.
Yeah. So the second song on side 2, bro, is May You Never, and that's an interesting song too, because it's a song that indicates where Clapton was going to take his career over the next couple of years, so we've got the storm, haven't we, of the core, and then we've sort of got this laid back, calm, pleasant number, written by a guy called John Martin, who I don't know a lot about, and I didn't do any research on for this show because we didn't have enough time, but someone in the chat might help us. What is it? You just got Clapton playing his acoustic guitar. Better version of the acoustic songs on side 1. I don't mind this song. I don't mind this, and I think because I'm still gleaming from the core. So I'm giving this a 9 out of 10, and never a skip.
Yeah, this one for me, May Never, the vocals start with Eric. It's his delivery. He delivers the sound almost swaggering and talking through it. For me, the organ sounds great. Acoustic guitars are really cool. I mean, I'm a sucker for a really well-recorded acoustic guitar, and I really liked it in this one. The drums and bass are outstanding. Again, I think there could have been some more backing vocals in this song to me. Maybe even more guitars. I mean, there's always not trying to fill too many spaces and everything like that. Maybe a nice shimmery sort of clean guitar in there would have been nice, but it's an 8.5 out of 10 for me. This one, I had to give it an 8.5 because it's not quite a 9 in comparison to what I rated 9, and but it's a great song, and it's a great second song on the side 2.
Yeah, well, I'm embarrassed to admit, to everybody in the chat and to you that I've never heard this original, and clearly now I need to, because I'm looking at the comments in the chat. Derek is saying that the original version has much more edge to it, and then Simon and Hugh is saying that he's a Scottish folk singer. So, I can't bullshit to anybody here on the show, not all the time, anyway. But yeah. I've never heard the original, and there's probably no excuse for it now with Spotify and YouTube being around. So I will make a point after having dinner and taking Pepper for a walk. I will check out the original. I think you probably need to too, bro. Got James Stewart in the house. Hey, James.
Yeah, I agree. I'll check it out, definitely.
Okay, all right. So, Mean Old Frisco. So, that's a blues song. Arthur Crudup is perhaps best known for writing That's All Right, which was made commercially successful by who? Elvis Presley.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Another tune first tried out during the aborted Layla sessions, so you can check that version out too on the re-released 40th anniversary collection. I think they've got a version of that on there as well. And we've got a treat, obviously, on the song, because we've got Eric Clapton playing slide, and some growling licks. Look, I love the song. I love it. I love it when Clapton is doing this and he's being messy, because that's the authenticity. That's something that resonates within me, Brad. I just love it. So I'm giving this a 10 out of 10, and it's never a skip.
Well, for me, I've always loved this song, just because of the bluesy vibes, the slide guitar with the Leslie effect. That's killer to me. The bass is tight. There's a nice dobro in the background I can hear. The drums are fantastic. Again, I have to mention they're just fantastic. His voice sounds great. His voice is definitely doubled in some parts. He's done double lead vocals there just to thicken some parts up. The main slide solo is fantastic. There's a lot of swagger in the delivery, and nice little slide outro to fade, sort of like listening there going, wow, imagine what's going on when they're not fading out. Like, did they just crash and burn, or did they keep playing? So I gave it a 10 out of 10, and it's a never a skip for me. Never a skip.
Awesome. We've got Fruitcake Tony joining us. Hey, Fruitcake, good to see you, buddy.
Hey, Tony.
James Stewart, I've already done a shout out for James, and Brian, all the way from Hawaii. G'day, Brian. Thanks for joining us. And if I've missed anybody, I think no, we're on point, bro. We're on point.
On point.
So the last song, Peaches and Diesel, instrumental piece, similar to Black Summer Rain from No Reason to Cry. Obviously, this is a love song, and I would have really would have loved Eric to put some lyrics to this song. I when I heard this album years ago, I just always wanted to just. How you can sometimes listen to an instrumental and be like really satisfied and go, yeah, this is great, like Hideaway, or Stepping Out, or The Supernatural. You can hear something and go, yeah, this is fantastic. But then when you hear an instrumental and you go, oh man, you're waiting for someone to come in and finish the story. I'll just share this quote that I've found today. So let me just pick up the book so I get the quote right. Hold on. Okay, so apparently, while recording the Slowhand album at Olympic, the band No Dice were in recording their album. And they all loved playing table football, which apparently were in the cafeteria at the studio at the time. And Eric, being Eric, offered them a bet that he would beat them, and of course Eric lost. The cost of the bet was naming a track after the two band members he had lost to, and their names, Peaches and Diesel.
There you go. I did not know that.
Yeah. No, nor did I. But we like throwing out a little bit of, what is it? Useless information? Well, no, it's not useless.
No,
useful. It's about Eric Clapton. Useful information. But look, I'm still going to stay by. Look, it's an interesting piece. I'm going to give it 9 out of 10. It's it's interesting. Mate, when I listen to this album, and I've listened to it 3 times today while I was, if Eric Clapton wanted to give us an album where you were wanting more, he certainly did it with this album. He scratched our interest. As Clapton nuts, we're on fire. We're not going, oh my gosh, this guy's a dud. Let's get out of here and let's go and find, let's go and get Boston, or find another band to go and check out. But look, it needs some words, lyrics.
Some lyrics, you reckon? Well, for me, Peaches and Diesel, it's a beautiful instrumental, orchestrated wonderfully. I can hear the emotive and sentiment behind the song. If he was singing words and wrote lyrics for it, I could imagine what they would be, and it would be a love song without a doubt. The vibe is very joyous, yet there's some sadness that appears, and a lot of that comes down to the feel on the guitar, I think.
Big time.
The guitar being a wonderful instrument where you can make it sound like it's crying. Clapton was always very good at doing that. The drumming, again, is fantastic. The bass is locked in, matches the drums. The guitars are beautiful. Some of the best playing from Clapton on this album is on this song. Yep. He really picks some wonderful guitar lines and melodies on the guitar. The organ on the song is a very nice touch as well. And I put here, fantastic way to close the record, and 20 out of 10. I had to give it a 20 out of 10, Andrew. I love it. Absolutely love it.
That surprises me. That surprises me, and I need to go and renegotiate. That surprises me. I didn't think. I thought maybe you might have given it maybe a 10, but to Brad score it.
I love his playing on it. Just gives me goosebumps, mate. So that's a good indication that it's going to be close to a 20 score, a Brad score.
Isn't that interesting that we can get surprised by our co-hosts? So, that's great. I love that. Look, I'm going to agree with Derek. I rate this album 461 and Journeyman and the Layla album. If those are if you had to have 4 albums, But on the context, guys, this album's bordering on a masterpiece. It captures Eric in a great period of time where he is going through those issues that he's notoriously known for. We mentioned at the top of the show, didn't we, that when they were recording Layla, everybody said that they were smashed off their faces, and clearly they weren't. They were in the studios working. They were clean shaven, they were tidy. If they did anything, it was after back at the hotel room, but they were always back at the studio 10 o'clock in the morning, ready to go. But Clapton was smashed off his face while he was recording this, apparently, wasn't he? So
Yeah, well, from all things that I've read, yeah. But I've also the proofs there that the guys, when they were recording the Layla album, they were very focused and very professional about recording that. Where this was a little bit more, you know, uh, the band were, from my understanding, or Clapton especially, was drunk a lot, which is, if that's what you can pull off when you're drunk, then imagine what he could have pulled off if he wasn't. But I mean, that was the time he was going through. So
20 out of 10 for the album cover.
I love the album cover too. It's fantastic. And it's one of those albums, I think, the more you listen to it, the more you appreciate it as well. And, Glenn Johns, I mean, we've got to give him credit where credit's due. He pulled some fantastic tones. He pulled some he pulled them together and got the best out of Clapton, without a doubt, from that period. So, but I mean, it's sad to think that he was in such a bad way, but it's still a great record. And that's the type of album cover that you could get framed and put on your wall, because it's that classic. It's fantastic. And he did the artwork himself, apparently.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you, Brad, and everybody else in the chat seems to agree with us too. That it's in there. I'd have this album over No Reason to Cry any day. I would have this album over There's One in Every Crowd any day. Yep. Is it as good as Ocean Boulevard? No. Ocean Boulevard is bordering. Well, that's a masterpiece.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed when we covered that one as well. That was, because I hadn't listened to that record for a while. And the reason I picked it was because it was probably, we just did not long before that Layla. And it was like, well, the next Clapton record that I love from that sort of time frame was 461 Ocean Boulevard. That was the next one along, which really resonated with me. And this one's, it's close. It's not far behind it.
Yeah. Look, I agree. It's it's one that I think Clapton fans have to negotiate after they've been exposed to a little bit of Clapton's other music. Certainly, that was my experience. The first time I heard it, I didn't get it at all. It's great. What's really interesting too is if you guys go on Spotify and check out I think a couple of years ago they came out with the 30th anniversary or the 35th anniversary, and there's some outtakes and also some live versions of them playing at the Hammersmith and a couple of other places. And that's a tight band live, man. They were tight. But having said that, there's Clapton's on record for being bad on a lot of gigs too, playing badly.
One thing I will say is I think
hey, Hardwood,
Clapton definitely needed the support of the band he had at that period, because they were very strong, and they were in their performance, they always lifted Clapton up and got the best out of him. From all the live stuff I've seen, the band are cooking, mate. They're not. There's no weak links there. If anyone was going to be the weak link, it wasn't the backing band.
No.
I think,
no.
Yeah. But I mean, look, and then moving forward, like, through Clapton's career, I mean, he made amends musically for any performances that he gave where he was a little bit arrogant and maybe not playing his best, where he got to, like, we've covered off 24 Nights. That's never a skip. # never a skip. I mean, he's playing on that is phenomenal, and his singing on it is outstanding. So But
Well, it's a
he
word we
was,
use. It's a word we use here often, isn't it? And one of the guys in the chat used it too, the evolution of an artist. And I think this is one of the things that we like as fans. You know, clearly there is that evolution. Yes, time obviously is going ahead, but
yep.
there are a lot of artists out there who haven't changed over time, who are just very happy doing the same stuff over and over and over again, and that's fine. You know, Motorhead, for example, AC/DC, for example, we're not slamming them, but they're just sticking to that, formula. But Clapton is certainly an artist that has propelled and gone, alpine over that time period, has developed, has what's the word? Evolved.
Yeah, definitely. And even now, like, his later records, he's defined himself as a bluesman. He's got a great vocal. He does what he's good at. He improves on it a little bit every time. But you watch any live stuff through the 2000s period, and he's on top of his game. He's on top of his game.
Well, yeah, I think you mentioned it too. Like From the Cradle, there's no skips on From the Cradle. On this album here, there's no skips. So this album, in context of Clapton's career, is a stepping stone, a building bridge. And I think you mentioned it, and Simon mentioned it, and Hugh and Derek in the chat too. That Clapton was going down that country road too. He wanted to experience that, and cheapest half of the album's country.
Yeah. And there's some deep dive stuff for a lot of you Clapton fans out there. If you've ever had a listen to the soundtrack album he did in '92 called Rush, which was, there was a lot of cool stuff on that as well. The instrumental stuff that was outstanding in my opinion. So if you've never come across that, go and have a listen to that. That's a really good one. But when was that? That would have been mid-90s, was it? I can't remember when that came out. Sort of 92. Yeah, and then From the Cradle, and then Pilgrim, which is another interesting album, Pilgrim. That's another interesting one. Reptile.
Another interesting one.
Yeah, me and Mr. Johnson's. He just kept doing things to not staying on the same path either, like sort of going here, going there, going here, going there, but staying true to himself. And I've always admired Eric Clapton as a vocalist, even more so that 24 Nights period onwards. He just became such an amazing bluesman. Vocally, his voice was phenomenal.
Yeah. And before we split, I just want to say one other thing too. One of the great things about Clapton's albums over the course of his career is, there's a lot of albums that are masterpieces, and there's a lot of albums out there, if we're, serious to admit it, which only have a couple of songs. Brad just mentioned them, Pilgrim and what was the other one that you mentioned? That came out in the early 2000s, Pilgrim and Back Home. Oh, yeah. Yep. So got some interesting songs on there. They're not masterpieces. There's a couple of standouts. Like She's Gone is a great standout, and My Father's Eyes in 2010 when he came out with Clapton. When he's got the long hair on the cover. That's an interesting album. Old Sock, which that's a cheapers. In fact, that's So Clapton has this remarkable ability, bro, of coming out with a couple of average albums and then hitting it out with a couple of masterpieces.
Yeah. He obviously he's an interesting cat. He likes to do things a certain way, and kind of, I guess that's why we love him, because he sticks to what he's good at, and he'll venture off and do something that he wants to indulge himself with, and That's the true form of an artist, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I love his 80s albums. I love August. And I love Behind the Sun. Behind the Sun is a great album and underappreciated. Absolutely. I love that album. It's his 80s albums are pretty good.
Yeah. I always loved listening to him play Tearing Us Apart, off August.
Great. It's great.
Fantastic. I always loved the live versions of that. There was a gig he did at Nebworth where he's wearing, I think, a pink Armani suit. And he does that.
Brother. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's an amazing version of that song.
Got his long hair and his Armani guitar strap was probably 20 grand or something like that.
Yep. Well, you can't say he wasn't all class, mate. He wanted to look good, and he spent a lot of money looking good too.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you too, Derek. I'm August. And you know what? I don't give a damn that it sounds 80s. I've had a couple of conversations with guys over the years. Yes, it is a product of the time, but I listen to that album. I've got it. I listen to it regularly. Yep. I think it's great. And then, but what all these albums did is they gave us Journeyman.
Yeah, they did. That's a fantastic.
Have we done? We haven't done Journeyman yet, have we?
No, not yet.
We'll have to get Michael on for that one. Because
Yep.
He I think he still sleeps with that album.
Yeah. No, it's an epic album, and it segued into 24 Nights, really, didn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's it was a solo where you break the string playing. Yeah, that's correct. It's awesome, and that's on YouTube. It's worth checking out. It's epic.
Yeah,
epic. Oh, speaking of mistakes too, check out when he's playing at the live waltz, and he's just starting the solo, and his strap falls off the top horn and he catches it, and Robbie Robson sees it, and he takes over the solo, and then he grabs it and puts it back on. So yeah, they're pretty clever, these guys, mate. Besides being great guitar players, they can catch things mid-ear.
You feel that? Oh, the weight's gone.
There goes my $5,000 guitar. Bang!
Stop it. Yes, don't scrimp out and buy cheap guitar straps for an expensive guitar. And buy good strap locks if you're going to buy strap locks. Don't buy cheap and nasties.
Yeah, I agree with you. That guitar there, that's got Shub strap locks on it because it's the way that it's balanced. It's yeah. We hold on.
Shuffling through all of his guitars.
I can't describe it, so I'll show you. So it's got one of these things here. Hold on. That goes on your strap.
Yep.
And then you have to screw a special thing in there, and so that just locks in there, so it's never going to come out.
Yep. Man, I had a Gibson Firebird in the late 90s, early 2000s. I sold it, and I'm kicking myself for and it was a very famous Gibson Firebird as well. So I'm kicking myself even more so now as well. So, but the things we do when you move stuff on because you want to buy something different. The reason I sold it sounded fantastic. It was a real dog of a guitar to play live, though. You always wanted to nosedive.
Yes.
Felt like I was fighting it the whole time.
It's a guitar It sits. It's sitting like 4 inches. Yeah.
Goes that way. So I would actually make mistakes sometimes playing it because I'd be like, "That's your 12th fret." I go, "No, it's the 15th." Oops,
Oh,
that it just kind of felt a bit offset to me. But it was actually it's on the cover of an Australian album, Australian band album called Baby Animals. It was their first album. Susan's actually holding it on the album. I actually bought that guitar. I still wish I had it. But anyway, the regrets, hey?
next show we'll put that photo up on the screen, guys, for you guys to check that out. I'll make sure Brad and I do that so that we can torture Brad, okay? Because we're into.
I do torture myself from time to time when I look at that album or I put that album on, and I kick myself every single damn time. To be honest with you, I'll show you. I've got it here.
Oh, awesome! Hold on, then.
Hang on, I'm just.
Hey, James. Oh, I know that. Yeah, I know that album. That was
I owned that guitar for a bit.
Yeah, I know that cover. That was their famous album. That was famous here in New Zealand.
It's their epic first album.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I owned that guitar, and I stupidly sold it. But you're the same, Andrew. You buy stuff, you turn stuff over. You don't really. I didn't see a need for the guitar at the time, so
yeah.
But if I had it now, I'd use it as a recording guitar, and it wouldn't probably leave the house.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So that's good. So I just want to remind everybody that you guys are very, very lucky because you'll get Simon and I and Brad on Sunday, New Zealand time, and Australian and UK time. I think that's Saturday for you folks in North America. We're doing a great album. It's an album that Sonia, especially, we know is going to be very, very rapt to have us discuss, and that's Brad's pick. So we're going to sit back and listen to Brad discuss and deep dive that album, and I'll let him tell you what that album is on Saturday, Australia, New Zealand time, Friday evening, North American time. We are finally going through the rankings of Van Halen 1 with the Rev. Jeepers, it's taken us 6 months to get to this point. I'm excited about that. We should, if the Rev has pulled finger, we should have something for him to show, a finished guitar. So let's hope that he manages to do that. And then he's going to tell us about a trip that he went on, that he mentioned on Fruitcake Tony's show a couple of days ago. Incidentally, that Brad and I guest slotted on with the Rev. So if you guys... Yeah, I'll put Tony's video on this show here. If you guys haven't checked out or seen Fruitcake Tony, sub to his channel, please. I'll put a link. Come back to Fruitcake Tony. In fact, while Brad's talking, I might find that now and put that in the chat. I think that's the shows we've got planned. Yeah, that's it, bro.
Yeah. So Sunday is Paranoid by Black Sabbath.
Oh.
It's gonna be a riff-tastic album to go through. Some amazing, powerful classic rock. I call it classic rock. Segues for the metalheads, like inspirational for metalheads. Looking forward to that one. Looking forward to catching up with Simon on that one as well, and seeing what Andrew and Simon come up with their rankings for that. And everyone in the chat, if you haven't already, please subscribe. That would be awesome. And to everyone that has already subscribed, help us grow the channel. Share the episodes you like on Facebook. Put them up on Facebook. Get people to subscribe to our channel. Tell everyone about us, because we want to grow the channel. We've got a goal. We want to try and get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of December. and we're going to do everything we can from our angle to grow it. But every time you guys share it, maybe 1 or 2 people might come and check it out and subscribe as well. So if you just think about it that way, I think we've got 600 subscribers now. Is it 600? I think
getting close to it, bro. Getting close to it. Not quite 600.
Let's just imagine if every single one of you people share one of our episodes on your Facebook, 600 of you, and let's just say one person out of your friends list comes and checks it out, subscribes, we'll get there easy.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
You know, we've got some surprises coming up too. You know, we've got some interesting shows planned. You know, the 5150 show's always got some interesting bits and pieces to it. The Sunday show, we've got some great classic albums to come.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we're looking forward to that because it's just about never ending. We just haven't scratched the surface. We've got a couple of shows, haven't we, planned with Michael. Michael's gigging at the moment, so Michael's going to come back and do some more shows with us. Yep. So you know, we love it. And look, I appreciate Brad doing the shout out and coming on, giving his time. Simon, the Rev, everybody, you guys in the chat for sitting in there and just throwing some of these comments out to us. It's just it's humbling.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, thank you, Warren, for your contributions to the channel. Warren does subscribe and he helps us out by forwarding on subscription money, which is something that is quite amazing. We never expect that from anyone, but it certainly helps Andrew with his streaming costs, which is amazing. Yep. And we just want to keep growing the channel. And thank you so much.
And if anybody wants to do that, you know, I got told by a couple of people to ask. So, you know, it's always a good thing to ask. So if you do want to help the channel, we've got some competitions planned. We're going to run a couple of other T-shirt competitions because that certainly had a lot of impact in growing the channel. But if you do want to PayPal, but that's not the reason also that, you know, we're doing a special shout out to Warren, because right from the word go, when he jumped into our chat, he had a great sense of humor. And his sense of humor just stuck out like night and day, didn't it? It was just, you know, and he took a shine to Brad. He took a particular shine to Brad.
And the guitar.
Yeah. You know, and it's that sense of humor of giving someone a bit of grief, but you know that it's not really grief. It's what you do with mates. It shone through.
Yeah. So all the best, and our warmest thoughts and prayers are with you, Warren.
Yeah, and there's Simon there too. He's reiterating that too. You know. Yeah. So yeah, we haven't heard from him, but we do think about him, and also Sonia. So we'll make sure. I'm going to send a message to Sonia because she's been harping on about us doing Black Sabbath, Brad, for about a year. When are you guys going to do Black Sabbath?
Well, I'm surprised it's taken us this long to get there because, in my opinion, they were massive for that period of time, and they were so influential and such an amazing, like, bunch of early records they made. You know, like, let's be honest, unreal. I mean, the first album.
Oh, yeah, I got to do a shout out to Simon too, because Simon contributes to the channel too.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the other thing too is, you know, we will start doing shout outs to people contributing, I think. And, you know, it's not that we are pushing to get money, but it certainly helps. There's a cost involved in getting this up every month. Yep. So it certainly contributes to that.
But we want to do giveaways too. We want to do giveaways too, Brad.
Yeah, giveaways and all sorts of things. But the other thing is too, the more that you guys help contribute to the channel, the more it'll grow. But if you can't afford to financially, then do us a favor and just share us. because that helps us grow as well. Because we can monetize once we get to 1,000. Is it 1,000 subscribers?
Yeah, so we're up there with views, guys. We're up there. You got to have 1,000 subscribers and so many hours worth of views, and we're getting the views. We're getting the views, which is great. The hours of watch time, which is 4,000 hours or something like that. So we're getting well above that, which is great for a small channel. But look, at the end of the day, Brad and I and Simon would be here if it was just only 5 people and 3 people watching. So, because we just love it. We're organic fans. We like you guys. It's not a career. It's not something that we want to make a career. It's just music is such a big part of our lives. And, just sharing it with you guys is just fantastic.
It is. Certainly is. 100%.
Okay, bro, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. I'm going to pass on my kind regards to everybody in the chat. I'm not going to go through and name you guys. You know who you all are. We do humbly and graciously thank you for joining us and for sharing our channel, and some of the comments that you guys give to some of the shows that have been up on the channel after a couple of days. It's it's awesome. Thank you, and good to see my other co-hosts jumping on there, adding some comments too. It's great because we are an active channel and we want to remain that way. So thank you. Going to pass it on to my co-host, and we'll see you guys in a couple of days' time for the 5150 show.
Yeah, just going to say thank you to everyone in the chat, and again, we looking forward to catching up with you guys on the 5150 show and Sunday. So for the Black Sabbath extravaganza. So yeah, stay safe, everyone, and take care.
Yeah. Black Sabbath. Oh my gosh. Is anyone going to bring any bats? No bats. No bats allowed. I had to put that in there. I remember when I first got into Black Sabbath. I don't know who it was. Somebody, some elder person said to me, "You'll end up eating bats." Really?
Rat salad. Well, rat salad's a song on the album, mate. So, you ever tasted rat salad?
Oh, I've eaten some bad stuff over the years, bro. But no. Yes. Yeah. No, all right. Okay. No. Hey, we better end the show because I know where this conversation is going to go. We're getting in trouble. All right, see you later.
Yes, we're a family show.
Where's this video? Gosh, there it is.